Hi, friends, and welcome. I am your hot mess of a host, Mary Hendricks from The Very Merry Life, your new mom friend that soon will feel like an old friend. Twice a week, every week, I want you to come and join me as we cover moments in motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. Some moments worth savoring, others worth surviving, all with a laugh, pep talk, or F-bomb every now and again. I want you to come as you are, but leave the sugarcoating behind because, guys, we know how sweet it already is. So what do you say? Up for picking some daisies? All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. Hi, Adam. Welcome.
Hello. How's it going? Good to be here.
Good. I am excited. I'm especially excited just because selfishly, I need this for me. We'll get, you know what? I always jump ahead. I have if you listen to the podcast episodes ever, I have the tendency to jump ahead before letting the person I bring on introduce themselves. So I'm going to let you do that first. And then we're going to get on into it.
Introduce myself first. That's so nice. Okay. Let's see. Well, my name is Adam Brensen. I've been on Instagram for about 4 years now. And I started a page basically with the intention of helping people with flight anxiety because I had flight anxiety really bad and like panic attacks on planes and stuff like that. So I figured, hey, there's nothing on Instagram, even though there's a lot of stuff on Instagram, there's nothing about flight anxiety specifically. Yeah. So I thought like, hey, that wouldn't be kind of cool if I started a page and just saw what happened. In the process, though, I found a lot of other people who were dealing with this. And so actually Instagram at first was helping me overcome my own flight anxiety through connecting with people. But now I help people overcome it. So I'm actually a coach. I help people one-to-one and group coaching programs through my Instagram page, through my Facebook group. A lot of things. I'm going to start a podcast.
Yeah,
get even busier. But I think, so that's kind of the gist of what I do. I help people with flight anxiety. I've helped a lot of people. And because of the approach I use and the fact that I personally dealt with it, I've been able to help a lot of people who haven't found help otherwise. Yeah. So that's been kind of amazing. People who they thought they were stuck this way. And I showed them, you're not stuck. You're just a human being with a human brain. And we're going to help you get through it. And then they get to live their life of their dreams again, which is super cool to see. I love helping people transform and take something that seems like a big challenge and just break it down. And they start to, believe in themselves more and believe that they are capable. So I basically help people feel like they're capable, give them a lot of tools, and then fly, because flying is so important.
It's so important.
It's so ingrained.
Selfishly, that's why I'm excited. So one of my followers actually had recommended your page to me. She had found you. Cool. And that's when I checked you out and I was like, okay, this is what I need in my life. So for anyone listening, if you don't know the backstory on this, I have a terrible fear of flying. And I've always had it. I've always not liked flying. I remember the first time I ever was scared was when I was a kid. And I just didn't like it, but we did it a lot. So I really I never had a choice because my parents told us we were going somewhere, we were getting on the plane. But I definitely had one moment of a real big panic attack coming home when I was in college. And my mom, I remember I had to get home. I was in Chicago and she's like, you have to come home. Like there's no avoiding this. You have to get on the plane. You don't want to have a panic attack in the destination that you're at when you have to get back home because then you're stuck. So I remember taking like Tylenol PM, probably way more than the dosage, and was zonked out and got on the plane. And then that was kind of like how I did it, but I always pushed myself. It was when I became a mom that my anxiety grew tenfold. Tenfold. Like I couldn't, the moment we booked a flight, and that's the thing with anxiety and what I tell people, it's not a fear of flying per se in that I'm uncomfortable doing it. Like, I don't think a lot of people like flying. I think the environment, the wait times, like flying isn't always the most joyous of things. This is like the moment the moment I book the plane ticket, I am thinking about it every single day coming up. And it's like an impending doom. It's like for example, I'm flying right after Halloween. So in my head is like, this is my last Halloween with my kids. It's awful. So it's just, it boils down. So it's every single day, but people I don't think people realize how big of a fear that has. And I honestly wouldn't wish it on anyone because it's been 5 years since I've flown. I have family in California. I am flying in a month, less than a month at this point. I'm going to face it. It's debilitating to think about me getting on a plane, but I'm going to force myself to do it. I just,
I get it. I get it. And I don't know this information about you, but where do you live?
New Jersey.
So you're going across the country. So that's a big psychological like thing you probably are focused on, I would think too.
Yeah. You know what? And I've actually broke it down. I actually sat with myself the other day and I was like, because I think people have fears of different things. And I'm sure you've covered it, like the biggest triggers. And actually, I'll let you tell me, what are the biggest triggers for anxiety with, like, what are the things that people hate about flying that triggers their anxiety? Because
all the things they hate. Yeah. Well, there's two like main areas, but then there's definitely like the common things: turbulence, the takeoff, everything. It's like and like you said, the build up too of the whole travel experience can then weigh in on it, and they don't realize it. It could be like, well, actually, you're anxious about this other thing going on in your life, like work related thing, but then it's being brought in as flight anxiety. So it's actually a lot of triggers. It's just life triggers, the travel experience triggers, news, media, like. The way stuff is portrayed in the media triggers people. Yeah. And then our brains soak up all this imagery. So it's a lot of stuff, but it triggers, a sense of falling, the fear of heights, loud noises, like all these things are triggering. But I wanted to point this out because I was going to bring it up anyways, but you brought it up, is becoming a parent. Yeah. There's so many people, because I've worked with a lot of parents, specifically mothers, who they tell me, oh, I used to go all these places. I used to fly, really like it. And then they become a parent. They're a mom. And it's like your brain changes. I know, like, obviously I didn't give birth to a child and grow it in my body, but I know my brain has changed becoming a dad. I'm like, I'm different. I become a dad now. I'm in dad mode. Yeah. And so I know from talking to people how consistent and regular and just predictable it is. Like, if I'll ask them, like, well, did you become a parent recently, or how old are your kids? And it's like, oh, they're 2 and 3, or they're like 2 and 6, or they're just, they just were born. Yeah. It's like you become so protective and aware and heightened about your whole environment and what could maybe possibly harm them, or not seeing them again if you have to leave them behind. It's just like, there's so many triggers. That's why this is so hard. It's really
so hard. And I sat with it. Actually, you know what, real quick before I answer and I continue, I heard my cleaning lady upstairs, and I don't think she realizes that I'm home. Okay. She won't come downstairs. I just want to like text her and let her know that I am here. Yeah. And my baby is sleeping, so don't go in her room.
And good idea. Don't wake that baby.
Yeah, just down in the basement. And baby is napping. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, no. So I sat with myself and I was thinking about, like, what is it? Because, like, I obviously, like I said, I don't like the airports. I think about, here are my 3 things. It's not turbulence. Turbulence actually is not that scary for me because I've learned the science of it. Obviously, I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it, but it's not I've learned a little bit more of the science behind it, and I've talked to
That's
So I've been able to kind of calm myself with turbulence and things like that. I don't think I would like it very much if we were to take off during a thunderstorm. Like, there's things like that where I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, I'm not a fan of that. I've flown through scary turbulence before. I've kind of sat through that, and it is what it is. It is, like I said, I'm afraid of dying, obviously, because I'm afraid of a crash. That is my fear. But it's not so much the fear of the crash, because let's say, God forbid, that were to happen, that's done. I can't really do anything about it. It is the lead up to not seeing my kids. It's my kids. That's what it is. Yeah. Right. It's the fear of not seeing my kids. It's the lead up of, like, being so devastated that this is what's going to happen and I'm not going to see my kids. So that's the first thing. Second thing is it's loss of control. I kind of, like, I look at the pilots every time I get on. I'm like, are you focused right now?
That I'm on the plane. You better protect me.
Yeah. Are we okay right now? Like that. Yeah. And then it's obviously just like little intrusive thoughts and things like that. What if something goes wrong? What if a screw comes loose? Like, it's like the what if every situation. It's actually pretty phenomenal. And I talked to a therapist that was on as a guest a little while back, and I talked to her about it, and she said it's just incredible when you really break it down what our brains are capable of coming up with. Yes. Because even if you rationalize it, your brain, I almost feel like my brain is like, okay, well, you got that one. How about this? Like, how about this one? Try this one now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
so that's the control thing. That is very common, because So there's a book, it's called Emotional Equations, and there's an equation for anxiety in there. I don't know if you ever heard this way of talking about anxiety. Is that uncertainty times powerlessness gives you anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. So control, lack of control feeds into that sense of powerlessness, but also uncertainty because we don't know what we don't know. Our brain comes up with things we possibly could not know. There's so many possible things that we cannot have control over or that we could have uncertainty about or powerlessness about. If those are high enough, you're going to get some anxiety. Yeah. And then if you have association with flying and anxiety as a certain thing, like something I don't want, you're trying to push away and fight with it. That's actually the opposite of what you need to do. And it creates more anxiety sometimes and more struggle, and which is sustaining a nervous system response that you don't want. So your fight or flight response is just being sustained, and you're like in this heightened, probably at this point, exhausted state of stress and anxiety, which makes it really hard to think clearly. And so those intrusive thoughts, when they come in, you can get tricked by them more easily. Yeah. And if you try to fight with them, like you said, your brain goes, here's another one, here's another one. Yeah. And that's how anxiety is. Like, even like with anxiety symptoms, they can start, one can go away and then another one can show up. Yeah. And so it always seems like maybe there's something wrong with me, because like last week it was this and now I'm getting this other thing. And but it's really tricky. Everything you described is like super common and people have overcome it. Yeah. There's actually a process you can go through to totally overcome this stuff. It just takes time to undo what has been done. Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, I don't have really that much time. I'm just ripping the Band-Aid off at this point. So I'll just, that and Xanax at this point, I'm just going to do that for now, just to get my butt on that plane and sit and
that's fine. Like
I want to tackle it long-term. Like that's my thing where I've talked about it on Instagram and people have always come back and they're like, well, just easy medication. And I'm like, I understand that, but I also I'm the type of person that's like, yeah, I get that. It's a quick fix. It will get me on. I've taken it before. It really has helped. It's actually helped very well. But it's not something I want to keep up. And it's a pain for me because even now, like I have to go to my doctor. I don't just get it readily prescribed. I have to go to my doctor every single time I fly now to be
they give you enough just for the flight.
That's enough. It's only 4 pills, just 2 before, 2 after, or 2 each way, flying each way. So it's like, that's it, which is totally fine again. But, even for example, I'm flying in the beginning of November and then I come home and then we have like a 10-day window and then my husband and I are both flying to London. So it's a lot. This is like big trips. They're not even like small trips. They're just like ripping the Band-Aid off, get your butt on the plane, go. So it's a lot.
Living life. Yep.
Yeah. You know what? And it's the fear. And I've said this before, the fear of planes is awful. It's the fear of not doing it because I have a feeling if like my husband keeps joking, he was like, what, we won't know that you're actually going on this trip until we take off. He was like, because he knows me. True. And he was like, you don't really know that you're going to be on there and you still have time. Like you have time. And I just looked at him, I was like, I'm going because if I don't go, I will never fly. And I know that. I know that about myself where if like and it's the fear of holding myself back and being land bound forever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That terrifies me even more because I don't want that. I don't want that for my kids. Like my kids are probably the emphasis for a lot of my anxiety, but they're also a lot of the push to get over this because I want them to, total sense. I don't want them to have this at all where it's, I want them to be able to grow up and go travel the world and not be scared because I don't want to pass it on.
We'll be back after a quick break. Eye-Opening Moments podcasts are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
Well, that's a lot to take on, right? To think that like I have to set the stage for the rest of my children's life, like you have to be the one who overcomes it. But I relate to that because I had to use like emotional anchoring to get through flights. There's a term called like emotional anchor thoughts. Like Mel Robbins has a really good video where she talks about anchor thoughts a lot too, and anxiety, and actually with flying. I don't know if you ever watched that video, but
no, I'll look it up. I know she had a fear.
I'll send it to you. I will find the links. I know where it is.
Let me, and I'll put it in the show notes too for anyone listening. Send me all that stuff because I know she had a fear of flying though, Mel Robbins, because my mom actually told me about Mel Robinson's fear when I was like really struggling with it. She was like, you should listen to her, because I know she was saying something about how she kind of overcame it because she had to fly a lot. That's who she is. So
yeah, and now she's even more famous. That's just more people hear about these things. But so like we can use emotional anchors to get through experiences. One, they cause a wedge between how we don't want to feel and how we do want to feel.
Yeah.
And they interrupt, they kind of put a break on what's going on. Because if, for example, this is a really simple one. Actually, so I'm going to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a surprise for you. I didn't mention it, but everybody who's listening to this podcast, if you message me on Instagram and just message me your laugh, I have a resource that I just created that I haven't even shared with anybody, and I'll give it to you for free.
Awesome.
It's a PDF about how to use breathing, smiling, and laughing effectively from a scientific standpoint to help retrain your nervous system response. So these are really easy techniques. You can use them on planes. You can use them in daily life. And I create a PDF because this is stuff that helped me. Once again, I share what helped me and other people. And so like, I'll give that to people if they want. But
yeah.
And so a little bit of like emotional anchoring and like interrupting plays into that with that stuff too. So for example, if I'm smiling and laughing, it's really hard for my brain to fully participate in a fight or flight response. Okay.
Yeah.
So because it's all chemical stuff. Like we are a chemical cocktail, like humans. There's you get hormones and different things in different proportions. You're going to feel a certain way, right? So if I am anxious and then I'm thinking about how much I love my kids and this beautiful moment that maybe happened in the past, I'm going to produce certain chemicals in my body that are going to interrupt the stress response.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, so like you said, our kids can be used to inspire, help us take the next step forward, grow, expand our abilities. Because I did that. I actually would imagine that moment I remember with my first son being born is how incredible that was when he finally was in the outside world. And it's like looking at him, it was so shocking, startling, beautiful, amazing that I would use that. And I would kind of look at him on the plane too and just make that connection. And so like I got a surge of probably like oxytocin, serotonin.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then my brain's like, oh, it like notices these shifts and it kind of helps you not be fully in the state that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So like you can use emotional anchoring, combined with a lot of stuff that I teach to just help have these tools that you feel confident in so that you know you can go on the plane. Because you have to trust yourself. You got to trust the plane, the pilots, yourself, and the travel process. If any of those trust levels are not quite where they need to be, you're going to have an automatic nervous system response that's not helpful.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you completely trust the planes and pilots, that's going to lead into your safety being amplified, and you're not going to think I might crash or what if this, what if, all that stuff that's catastrophic.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where my brain goes. And so for trusting the plane and the pilots, what would you recommend for that? Like educating yourself as to how these things fly? Like that's what I've been trying to do.
There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. So one, super easy, follow pilots on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because did you know pilots have huge followings on Instagram and they post a lot? They actually are amazing video editors and they post really cool reels and videos of them actually at work. And they have all this information. You see them as like, this is a real person. They share how their job works, what they do. You're putting like a life, like a soul, a person to this job.
Yeah.
And so you can use that reference point and you can like follow a bunch of pilots and almost like make a conglomeration of like all the things you like about all these pilots. And imagine your pilot, he or she, whoever they are, is kind of like another one of those people. One of these people that you trust, that is doing this for a lot of good reasons, who loves their life. Super smart, intelligent, great decision maker. It's going to be hard for you if you have that type of reference and idea of what a pilot is in your brain. It's going to be hard for you to not trust them. Yeah. A little bit more than you normally would. You can meet them too. Yeah. You can like tell the gate attendant and say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm flying today. I'm not backing out, but I really got to meet the pilot. I want to talk to them and just kind of get a good feel for that. It's going to help me with my flight anxiety because I'm really trying to work on it." Yeah. And you can meet the pilot. That has helped people so many times. It's so easy. Okay. And it's free.
Yeah, I should do that.
And they will do it. It's a common thing. Yeah. And sometimes the flight attendants will check up on you too. So like, the education is a really good part of this. Like, and it's so readily available that anyone can access this stuff.
My flight to London, thankfully, this is why I like Instagram. I thank Instagram tremendously for so many things because I think.
Oh yeah.
I think social media can be damaging, but I think there are so many positives to it. And one of those being a girl from my hometown who I grew up with. I haven't seen her in years, but she follows me and she saw my stories about me flying, and she's a United flight attendant. And she messaged me and she said, "Hey, what airline are you flying to London?" And I told her it's United. And she's like, "Okay, I haven't chosen my flights yet. I am going to try and get on."
No way.
Flight. Yeah. So I'm really hoping, I haven't confirmed whether or not that's happening, but she was like, "I am going to
That is cool.
Just to get like on your flight there. That way I can be there and like hopefully ease some of this." And amazing. I'm like, that would be awesome if that ended up happening, because that would, I think then I would be a little bit calmer.
It can help. Yeah. Because even if she can't make it, you got to think like, my friend, this person I know does this for a job.
Yeah.
How many times has she flown? How many miles has she flown?
Yeah.
You know, like if you look on Flight Radar 24, it's like a website and an app, you see all the planes in real time, and it's like mind blowing. You realize, oh, in the United States alone, there's like several millions of people flying every day. They go up, they go down. And the flight attendants, the pilots, all of them, they just do their job, and it's not really like a big deal. That's the facts, though, and it's hard to then negotiate with your brain to get the emotional part to change.
Yeah.
Which takes the practice. You got to take the facts with you on the plane and just keep staying committed to practicing, combined with some other things, of course. But eventually the facts will hold their ground, and they will dominate how you feel, you know, because it's hard to dispute the facts. They're right there. The facts are there that like turbulence has never caused a plane to crash. Millions of people fly every day. Pilots very often have never even dealt with a major emergency in their entire career.
Yeah.
So it just shows you like, oh, there's kind of a lot of overwhelming evidence that I'm completely safe. And this is technically the safest thing you will do all day.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I know. I think about that often. I actually, and I had a bunch of people, even I'm saving a highlight on my page of like anytime, because my followers now know that I am like, I'm not doing good. I tell them every time, I'm like, check my status of my nails and you'll know how bad my anxiety is with the lead-up of it. Yeah. But they'll send me, and I have this again, like I said, it's just wonderful because I have people just send me tidbits of like their husbands that are flight mechanics or airline traffic coordinators or whatever, pilots. Like they just go through and they send me little tidbits of being like, "Hey, FYI, there's this fact here. FYI, there's this fact," where I'm like, this shockingly helps a lot. So thank you. Keep sending it my way. And I'm saving it again for anyone listening on my main page. I'm saving it. It's a flight, it's a plane, and then the terror face of being like scared.
Nice.
But I just have it saved under there.
To do that.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I mean, yeah, it's I'm tired of feeling scared over this because it can be a lot. I remember the feeling of how, and you ask my wife, she had to deal with me, like going back to the medication thing. Like I had basically just couldn't take medication because I can't be a productive person if I'm on Ativan. I can't respond to anything that's urgent or, you know, or like an emergency or anything. I'm not very helpful on drugs, on medication. Yeah.
And I just didn't like how I felt. I couldn't like step off the plane and just go into our trip or vacation. And I had to be like, oh, I got to go sleep now because I'm so exhausted and tired from this chemical that's in my body. So I had to do it for myself, my kids, and just because I knew that really the only way to change your brain and nervous system response is medication free, but it can be used as a tool.
Yeah.
Just to
get you through it. Yeah.
Just to rally up, or just not rally, but tally up some just more positive than negative flight experiences.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that will increase your confidence, which then makes you want to fly more. Because the more your confidence goes up, you believe in yourself. You believe overall it's going to go pretty well. You're mostly optimistic. Then it helps you take on more of a growth mindset, which is going to help you just stick to the plan and just continue to challenge yourself. So you keep learning and growing and changing, and then you become the best version of yourself you possibly can be. You know, because you just keep learning and growing.
Yeah, and that's what I want. So with your flight anxiety, did you have that all your life, or how did?
Oh, I did not. No, it was sudden. It started with just the flight, and so I've been with my wife since 2012. So this when we started dating.
Yep.
I went on a trip with her family, not that late into our relationship, and I was going to meet her entire family on the East Coast because we were all on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I was going with her mom, her dad, her brother's girlfriend, sister's husband. It was like all of us were all in a row on the plane, like going from Portland to Washington, D.C. to then drive to Maryland. And like just partway through the trip, we had to land in Denver, Colorado first.
Yeah.
It was like the weather or something about what was going on, like the elevation change. Because I'm kind of like altitude sensitive and like motion sensitive.
Yep.
I just had a panic attack. And as I had it, because it was so shocking and sudden, it was like, I thought something was wrong with me. It just created this whole spiral of just negative energy. And then I felt so afraid, so high. I was just like, what's going on? This is just crazy. Because I used to love flying. I would look out the window the whole time, just thinking it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then I lost it. I lost my connection to flying being fun. And I didn't fly for a couple of years. But then it was like, all right, I got to deal with this. So I became afraid of crashing, dying, having a panic attack.
Yeah.
The heights, just so many things, right?
Yeah.
It was a really hard, challenging thing to overcome. But I wanted to do it. Got to a point where I was like, the pain of not dealing with this is greater now than the pain of being uncomfortable on the plane.
Yeah. Well,
right?
That's where it's at for me at this point, where I'm like, I can't, like, this
That's
is not
how you
fun.
change.
Yeah, this is not fun. Where I'm like, this, like I said, it's not just a fear of the day of. I'm like, and that's what I've tried to explain to people. I'm like, this is not just the day of, like,
it's anticipation.
It's an entire thing. The moment I plan the trip, it is looming on me, and it's like it's a lack of control starting the day of booking the ticket, where I'm like, something's out of control for me, and I'm like, it's that, and I'm like, it makes it's awful. But like you said, that's why I'm like so determined this time, where I'm like, we're going to take care of this, and we're just going to keep on taking care of it.
You're gonna be so proud of yourself once you see the changes start to happen, and you actually did it. Because yes, this is another helpful tip, is that the anticipation anxiety is often the most challenging part, but it can resolve pretty quickly. Because a lot of times, once you commit to getting on the plane, you get on the plane and it takes off. It's like your brain kind of just goes, oh, well, now we're up in the air. We already kind of did the thing, and it's pretty, everything seems okay. There could be some sensations and stuff for some people that cause some anxiety, but for some people, just committing to it and breaking through the anticipation anxiety can really help a lot. Yeah. And knowing that when you book your flight of like, hey, I know what my brain's going to do. It's going to go into fight or flight mode. It's going to freak me out. It sucks, but I know that if I get through this part, I could really see a lot of growth and change happening. And the reason I'm doing this is for myself, for my future self. My future self is waiting for me to take these practice flights and to get through this, because it's going to lead to so many amazing changes and life experiences that you just got to do it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's the great thing is our brains are plastic. We have neuroplasticity that we're dealing with. So it is completely possible, 99.99% possible, that you will change with the right effort, with the right information and determination and attitude. There's no reason why you wouldn't change. Yeah. Yeah. No, I believe in you.
I believe in me too. I'm going to do it. I mean, like I said, I have no other choice. I'm too stingy to buy a ticket and then back out. So I'm going to do it. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm actually debating on whether or not to fly the weekend before I go to California to Chicago real quick.
Like practice, you mean, or do another trip?
Do another trip. It would only be from Friday to Sunday. I have family that lives out there, and they're having like a Oktoberfest thing. But
that'd be so fun. My
mom said, she's like, you should come with like probably one of the kids. I wouldn't take all of them because that'd be too much. But I was like, kind of debating. But again, the only problem, and this is why the medication portion is where I struggle, because I feel scared to not go with medication, but also I cannot get any more medication from my doctor because I need to save what I have for London and LA. So I'm like,
so you're kind of capped out. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I'm capped out, but I probably would raise some red flags if all of a sudden I called again and be like, I need more, because I literally just told them.
You know what too is like, I don't know if it's true in this country, but I know I've talked to people in other countries where they don't even give you medication now for flight anxiety.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think because they think people are able to say, oh, I have flight anxiety, and they can just get it, And so
I think it depends on the doctor, because I know my mom and sister got it from one doctor, and they got like a crap ton.
Like, here you go, lifetime supply.
My doctor is like, you get 2 on each flight, going there, coming back.
That's stingy. Okay. So that's not enough.
This is all you get. That's it. So I'm like, I get it. It's Xanax. So I'm like, yeah, you're probably controlling that stuff like crazy. But I don't know. I'm debating on whether or not I want to raw dog it to Chicago.
Oh, you know what though? There's natural things you can take that are helpful. When I shifted from medication to not medication, there was a time where I actually just took the bottle with me, where I knew I probably wasn't going to take it, but it felt so comforting to have the bottle with me of the pills. But there's things like, now in our society, we see a lot of these like relaxing drinks, and there's all these like gummies and stuff you can take. I don't know if you've seen those, but L-theanine is a naturally derived compound from green tea. And it's actually a pretty calming compound that you can take. It has no side effects. it doesn't feel as strong as a medication, but also you're not getting the same side effects or anything. You can just take it. You don't have to worry about mixing with other stuff. It just kind of like gives you a little bit of a chill pill feeling. And so that can kind of help tame the nerves a little bit. I know people have actually tried homeopathic stuff that seems to really like it. Yeah. Kind of tames the nerves. But there's some natural things you can do, even like chamomile tea, just enough to take like a little bit of the edge off so you can think more clearly like yourself, so you don't feel like a crazy person going on the plane. So there's some things you could try. You don't have to raw dog it completely.
I know. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but if I do, I think I would actually be better if I flew with my oldest. For some reason, I feel like if I flew with my 6-year-old, I would probably, because I would probably click into mom mode because I'm going solo. Oh, I'm going solo to LA and then I'm going with my husband, but each of those is a different dynamic. So I'm going solo. So I'm going to just be me. So it's my fear. I'm not with anyone where I have to kind of absorb and click into mom mode and kind of mask a little bit. So I'll just be by myself. And then with my husband, it's a different flip side of I have what if something happens to both of us and then we leave our children orphaned thing going on there. So I'm like, so I think, I don't know. I'm debating, but I think it would just be good because that's 3 flights in 3 weeks that I'm like, okay, maybe it's just enough to.
From my standpoint, that's excellent. Yeah. Can I go into coach mode a little bit? I'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense why you would have this thought about your kids, because that's a reality no parent wants to ever deal with, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to think that somehow you left your kids behind and you're responsible, all that stuff. It's a valid feeling, but why does a person run with the thoughts? Like, we know they're catastrophic. We know they're linked to anxiety, but why you actually turn them into a possible reality when you don't have any evidence? It's probably not true, factually not true. Why run with it and then cause yourself more, emotional frustration and challenges? Why do you think it is that you actually grab onto it and believe it's even a possibility, Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just, I think it's one of those fears. It's just it's a fear that came up where I'm just, I don't know. I think it's just I think it's literally just a fear. It's like, I love my kids so much. And I think I'm just.
Yes, of course you do.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. I think it's also a guilt factor. I think with my husband and I, particularly going our first international trip solo, I think there's a guilt factor. And the thing I keep telling myself over and over is like, you're going to feel guilty no matter where you go. So you might as well get your butt on a plane and just get where you need to be and then feel guilty in a different country because you're still going to feel guilty at home. So I think it's that, but it definitely, I don't know. I think we catastrophize. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but
you just said it right. You just did it. It's catastrophize.
Okay, there you go. But I think we do that on a natural basis. I think all of us, we just jump to like the worst possible scenario always. And I don't know. I mean, I always repeat to myself, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's probable, or no. Just because
probable,
it's
possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because it's possible doesn't mean it's probable. And I
True. We're dealing with the human brain. Our brains have unhelpful patterns. They're called cognitive distortions. And there's so many of them that we do, and we don't really realize them because they're just these shortcut, fast ways. It's a shortcut to think, because if your highest priority in life is to protect your kids, it makes sense you would trust and believe this mental shortcut, this pattern that's unhelpful, that something can happen to them. Because look, if you don't pay attention to it and something happens, that's a horrible outcome. If you pay attention to the thought and nothing happens, great. Yeah. Because it's like, well, maybe because I pay attention to it, I saved my children. So, but either
definitely
way,
what it is. It's like a premonition type of thing. It's like if I don't do A, B, and C, then this is going to happen. I definitely think I have if I can go, I have the other shoe dropping mentality constantly. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I think that's also another reason. I think that's a big portion of like my anxiety just on a daily basis. It's the other shoe.
You're expecting.
I'm expecting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could go deeper. I know why. I'm very self-aware with that stuff. I lost a sister when I was younger. So I think for me, it's just like, and it came tragically out of nowhere. So I think it's just, I'm always looking for that. And I think I overdo it now, where I over plan and I over analyze the situations to hopefully protect myself from potential catastrophe, where I'm like, we're going to just protect every situation, but it goes little bit overboard.
Well, our brains, our brains love the feeling of control. So that can just mean familiarity, whatever it is, what we're used to, like patterns and habits. That's why it's hard to break out of habits and patterns, because it's familiar and comforting. If we do something else, that's uncertain. I don't know what's going to end up, even though you might be the best thing you ever do. This is why it's hard to grow and change, because our brain kind of pushes back against it. Like these flights you're doing, if you go to Chicago and California and London, that's going to be transformative. I don't see how it can't. You're a self-aware person. You're putting this effort into helping yourself. Like you're going to see some shifts. It's going to, it's going to be like a messy little growth curve, but all growth is kind of messy. But I think you're more or less, you're going to go up. You're going to end up higher than where you started.
Yeah.
But the thing is, are you willing to be uncomfortable for all those times that you don't know you're going to be uncomfortable? Because you don't know. You don't know, like, oh, from 2 to 3, I'm going to be anxious. It's just going to be like, it could happen or not happen.
Yeah.
It could go way better than you expect, though, too. So it's like, as much as we believe what if thoughts that are negative, we can believe what if thoughts that are positive. Like, what if it goes better than you thought? What if it all works out?
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to tell myself.
It's hard to go that way, though, right? Because if past events seem to predict future outcomes, too. You think like, well, these things happened to me in the past. What if they happen in the future or something similar, And so we're trying to protect ourselves and our kids.
Yeah. But I'm determined. I'm like, I don't want to.
That's what you need to be.
Positive what ifs is what I'm trying to focus on. So maybe I'll do it. If I fly to Chicago, I'll let you know what I do. But
that'd be so cool, though, of a trip to do. I think, like,
I haven't been out there in a while.
Trip. It's so different.
Yeah, I mean, it's quick enough. And I said, I mean, it's 2 hours. It's at just under 2-hour flight. So I'm like, it's not different than me getting in the car and just driving. It's shorter actually than where we usually vacation in Massachusetts. So I'm like, why don't we just go? I'll bring 2 out of the 3 kids. I have 3 kids. So I'm like, I'll just bring 2 out of them and I'll go Friday afternoon to Sunday afternoon and I'll just come back. Easy. So
how old's your youngest child?
19 months.
See, I wonder once the youngest becomes more around like 5 or 6, if some of this will, like, even if things get better, I think like any residual stuff, if it's there, might really resolve. Not that I'm saying.
I think I definitely think that feeds into it, because I think the age of kids definitely feeds into anxiety way differently. Because
less helpless, more helpless. That type of
where I'm like, I'm
biology.
I'm home a lot. So it's like, I need to be near her. I know her needs. I know, like, she's not talking yet, but I understand what she needs. Like, it's things like that where I'm like, okay, so that's why us going to London's a big trip. I'm leaving my parents with them, who my parents are great. So it's not going to be a big deal, but
that's not their norm. Not that part. Yeah.
No, it's not their norm though. So for me, I'm like, and I even said that to my husband. I was like, I'm technically a stay-at-home mom. I do all this stuff, but I'm like, I'm home with them all the time. And when I go to LA, I said, you know what, I stress about that only because I am the default. I am the default, and I no shame to it. I am the default. So I said, it's not that I don't trust you. It's just because I know it's not your norm. So I said, I'm used to being home with them for 12 plus hours a day. So I get it, but you're not, that's the dynamic of what it is. So it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's not the case. So, you're capable. It's just a fact. Yeah. So it's just, that's where I stress more about it, where I'm like, I just want to know that you're not going to be overwhelmed, because I get overwhelmed. So like, that's that.
Right. But, you got to play into it a little bit. You are, as a mom, as a person who cares about people, you're tracking what everyone's possible emotional experience is going to be.
Yeah.
You're worrying about people. And then, so you have less capacity for yourself too, in that respect. So it's going to be harder to then be like, all right, I'm going to do this challenging thing that I've hated.
Yeah.
And which involves all these other complicated dynamics, like having my children stay with my parents, just all that's complicated stuff. Yeah. So it's all going to play into the emotional state that you experience when you go to the airport, when you book a ticket, because subconsciously we know things before we know them consciously. So like, as soon as you book a ticket, your brain already knows, my kids are going to be with my parents. It knows all this stuff that's going to cause uncertainty and powerlessness, immediately. So you feel that anxiety immediately. And then so it can play into the flight anxiety part.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it is. But I think I think what I've told everyone, this is what I even tell like my listeners, because I have a lot of moms here that listen and things like that, especially just anxiety talk, is like, I just have warned everyone. I'm like, just FYI, I'm going to call you and I'm going to leave lists and I'm going to sound a little psychotic. So just fair warning. But I just tell everyone, I'm like, I think there's such a shame in anxiousness. I think there's such a shame surrounding anxiety.
Yes.
And we don't like to admit it. And I've just told everyone, I'm like, you have to admit it. Like, you almost have to say like, hey, I'm dealing with this. It's not me. It's just my brain. It's not that I don't trust you. It's not any of that. It's just, I have to say it out loud so I can like just get it out of my brain. My brain needs me to say it out loud right now. It's not me. It's not you. It's just my brain and it's whack ass chemicals.
You don't like try to do what you can to not hold it in, right? Yeah. It's like, it's invisible. So it's so hard for people to even know someone else is dealing with anxiety or depression.
Yeah.
And then on a plane, you might feel like you're the only person dealing with your feelings, but because it's invisible, you don't realize like a third of the plane might really be having a hard time. Who knows? Yeah. And like everyone's kind of distracting themselves, appearing normal, or they're on medication or whatever, or they drink a whole bunch. So like everyone's dealing with their own way. Like you said, not everybody like maybe thinks flying is that amazing anyways.
Yeah.
But everyone's kind of suffering in some level, but we can't communicate about it and be open. We have to just sit there and bite our lip, that's hard because we might need just a little bit of comfort, might need a little bit of connection, understanding to get us through it. And it can make all the difference. So
absolutely.
I think you're the type of person who's comfortable sharing. So like share away, let people know, just put it out there to be examined, under the microscope. So it loses power over you. That's what I think kind of happens when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been so helpful.
I'm glad. I want it to be helpful. Yeah. Feel free to message me or anything with any questions too. Like I will. Because I feel like you're so determined. You're probably so close in a way that you can't see. Yeah. And, like I want you to go to Chicago. I want you to do all these amazing things in life, not just so you can experience them in the present, but you can look back and go like, wow, my life was amazing. I'm so glad I always said yes and I didn't say no. Right?
Yeah, because that's been a lot of my life. I mean, like I said, I have family out in California. Are you you said West Coast, right? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Oregon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have family in San Diego, and I haven't flown out there since right before the pandemic.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that's why I'm like excited to do LA, but I'm like, I'm pumped to go, but I've missed out on like, my family, my mom and dad and my sister have flown out there. I haven't. And I mean, granted, I've had kids, things like that, but I've missed out on big things too. So I'm like, I want to be able to plan that stuff and
you deserve it. You deserve to be able to deal with things that other people are doing.
Yeah. So.
For sure.
Anyway, well, thank you for everyone listening. I'm going to link everything of Adam's in the show notes. So anything that we've talked about, I'll put in the show notes. And like Adam said, message him on Instagram, and he has a free PDF and things like that. And we have coaching sessions and Facebook, everything. So if you guys are in the same boat as me, like, let's do it together. Like, watch my stories,
That's
please.
The best way to do it.
And I'm going to take the hit for all of you guys, and we're going to tackle this together, and hopefully I can inspire you guys to get on. Cause I know the fear. It sucks. It sucks so much, but I
think we will inspire other people for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to know more about me, just go to lifetakesflight.com. That's all you do. And then it's just tells more about what I do, some things I have available, but my Instagram page has a lot of posts, and I think it's really helpful for people. Many people have told me they've just read my posts and it's like led to them overcoming their fear and anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I'm so glad that someone pointed me in your direction. So
me too.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Adam.
You're so welcome. Glad to be here.
Another episode down. Thank you all so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, I would be so appreciative if you would leave a rating and review. I cannot begin to tell you how much those mean to me, but also how much they help me get in front of more eyes and more ears. As always, be sure to check back every Tuesday and Friday for a new episode, whether it's an episode with me and my husband, me and Katie, or just another incredible, amazing guest. Stay tuned for more honest, real, raw chit-chat. And hey, do me a favor before you go. Remind yourself how amazing you are, how enough you are, how special you are. And boy, oh boy, I sure am glad to have you here. Thanks, friend.